Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are starting Mahabharat, as many of you had opted for it. So we'll begin by offering a prayer, and then I will start the presentation here. So all of you, please hold your hands, and in case if you remember this prayer, you can recite along with me. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurube Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gau Bhaktarinda. Everyone together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you all for joining once again. Give me a quick second by the time I start the presentation. And today would be our introduction to this great epic called as Mahabharata. So today would be the first session, and I hope all of you have seen the syllabus, the tentative syllabus that we drafted for all of you. So how many of you are eager for Mahabharata? Please raise your hands. You are happy to get into Mahabharata because we have two options, Mahabharata or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So you can reply back on the WhatsApp, sorry, not the WhatsApp, the chat group. So I see how many of you, okay, great. And how many of you have actually completed the Ramayana homework? Okay, is there somebody else still remaining to complete? Okay. So if somebody is still remaining to complete, then they can't. All right. So somebody is asking a question, who wrote Mahabharata? So Shaurya, we have just started it. We have not even started it. So have patience. We'll answer your question, who wrote Mahabharata? Okay, so Mahabharata, the history of ancient India, or the ancient Bharat, or the greater India, as we know of. And as we are aware of Mahabharata, particularly is known for the great battle that took place at the land known as Kurukshetra. And that Kurukshetra place is still there in India, I believe around 150 or 200 kilometers from Delhi, where the great battle, one of the greatest battles our world have ever seen. In history of mankind, there have been two great battles fought, two massive battles on this planet Earth in the time of the human race. And one is Mahabharata, where 60 crore people died. How many? 60 crore people died. Prabhupada writes in one of the purports in Srimad Bhagavatam, this many people died in the war of Mahabharata. That was for 18 days. And many millions were missing or went missing. And prior to this, another great battle that was fought, that was a war between Lord Ram and Ravana. And we have just recently discussed and concluded whole of Ramayana. And if you look at, interestingly, in both this great epics and the great stories, both the battle were fought by the greatest of the Vaishnavas, of the devotees. Who was the hero of war of Kurukshetra? Who was the prominent person in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, except for Krishna? Of course, Krishna is. Who was the most prominent person of Kurukshetra war? Yes, Arjuna, a dear devotee, one of the best friends of the Lord, and who was the hero of the war between Lord Ram and Ravana, who was the most trusted person of Lord Ram, who played a very, very critical role in the war between Ram and Ravana. Yes, that's Hanumanji. So the two greatest battle that human race has seen in this world, and in both the battles, they were the best of the devotees who were leading the war to assist the Lord to establish dharma, as we have spoken earlier, the purpose of Lord's descent like that. So this Mahabharata is said to be mother of all stories. It is extremely vast, and it is explained that there is no knowledge which is not given in Mahabharata. Anything from politics or sociology, psychology, and from warfare, science of medicine, anything that person wants to know, everything is written or described in Mahabharata. And this Mahabharata is just not about the life story of Kauravas and Pandavas, although it's a central theme. But in this Mahabharata, there are history of mankind of millions of years old histories and stories are mentioned. And not only the stories of mankind from this world, from planet Earth, also from different planets, interplanetary travels, and all those is described in Mahabharata. So we'll see how much we can discuss in this series of Mahabharata, but we'll try to cover as much as possible with the given time. So our world has seen two great authors. Although there had been many, many great authors, Shakespeare, some of you might study his literatures when you're in your 8th, 9th, 10th standard, um, considered to be one of the best writer from Europe. And in the recent time, for the kids, one of the best writers is J.K. Rowling, who wrote about Harry Potter series and many other people like that. However, no authors can be compared in comparison to, in other words, can be compared with Valmiki Muni. All of you know about Valmiki Muni. We have discussed about Valmiki ji in Ramayana. Who wrote Ramayana? Now, Valmiki Muni was inspired, or rather instructed by Lord Brahma to compile or to write the story of Lord Ram in the form of a Ramayana. And the unique feature with the writing of Valmiki Muni is the Valmiki Muni is the first person in the Sanskrit language who wrote Ramayana in the poetic form. Prior to that, the verses or the shlokas that were written or that was discussed were not in the poetic format as Valmiki Muni wrote. So that was about Valmiki Muni writing Ramayana, which has 24,000 verses. Okay? And then, of course, the greatest of all authors, Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote Mahabharata, not only Mahabharata, he's said to be the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in fact compiled all the scriptures and then got it into the written format. Mahabharata, which Srila Vyasadeva compiled alone, has 1 lakh verses, which means 100,000 verses. And it is assumed that Srila Vyasadeva is responsible for somewhere compiling and writing around 100 crore verses. This is the vast and depth of our scriptures. However, both Vyasadeva and Valmiki Muni, although Valmiki Muni wrote Ramayana and Vyasadeva compiled all the scriptures, got into the written formats, Itihasa, Puranas, and so forth. But both of them have one thing in common. Although their writings were different, Ramayana was written by Valmiki ji, and Itihas, Ramayana, or Mahabharata, not Ramayana, but Vedas were compiled by Vyasadeva ji. But both of them has one thing in common. Anyone knows what is common between both of them? Okay, what else? They are great devotees. Great. What else? Yes, correct. They are great devotees of the Lord. There is something which is common between both of them. We spoke about them, who they are, their writings, fine, but there is something which is common for both of them. Okay, I guess it's a little tricky question, maybe difficult for all of you. But what is common for both of them is that is their teacher. It was Narada Muni who spoke about the life of Lord Ram to Valmiki Muni. Valmiki Muni had asked Narada Muni, who is the greatest person? And in response to that, Narada Muni had spoken to Valmiki Muni about the life of Narada Muni. Similarly, Vyasdev's teacher or guru is also Narada Muni. So both of them have the same teacher, and that is Narada Muni. And I believe in one of the sessions we have already spoken about Narada Muni. Let's see, Valmiki Muni wrote Ramayana in Treta Yuga, and our Vyasadevji wrote all the scriptures at the end of Dwapara Yuga. In fact, at the beginning of Kali Yuga. So Narada Muni is an eternal man, eternal spaceman, as sometimes it is called. So the Narada Muni is the common teacher for these two great personalities. And let's take a look of Srila Vyasadev's little bit contributions. So originally, prior to Srila Vyasadev dividing the Vedas into four, that is Rig, Yajur, Sam, and Atharva Veda. So Hare Krishna kids, I'm giving you introduction today, okay? So before we get into the subject matter of Mahabharata, we're getting into a little introduction. So if you have a pen and paper, there will be some information for you to write it down. So prior to this, all the Vedas were known by a single one name. I believe that was Yajur Veda, by which all the Vedas were called. But Srila Vyasadeva divided that whole knowledge into four parts, as given here: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Now, it's something very interesting to know that before Srila Vyasadeva decided to write down the scriptures, the Vedas were never written. Does anyone know why they were not written? And why Srila Vyasadeva decided to write it down? Does anyone of you know the answer for this? Why Vedas were not written before Srila Vyasadeva decided to write down? What was the reason? It must be kept a secret. Yes, Aman is writing is correct. Yes, because the memory of the people in those days up to Dwapara Yuga was so strong and so sharp that they remembered everything. There was nothing to write down. Nobody used a pen and paper. There was no telephone directory, and there was no computer to store files. Their brains were so sharp that they remembered everything. But Srila Vyasadeva decided to write down all the scriptures for the people of Kali Yuga. Because the people of Kali Yuga, it is mentioned that they are lazy, they are weak-minded, and they don't have much retention power. That's the reason all of us have a pen and paper. Even for us to remember our numbers of our family members, we have to save it in our mobile and whatnot. So for us, for our sake, because we will not have that strong memory power, Srila Vyasadeva decided to write it down for our benefit. And that's the reason behind it. So question comes, what are Vedas actually? Because Srila Vyasadeva wrote Vedas, and he didn't wrote Vedas, he wrote many other things, and one of those things is Mahabharata also. So we'll come to Mahabharata in a short while. So first of all, what are Vedas? What does Veda mean? Veda means knowledge. Anything that you need to know that is already included in Vedas. That is called as Vedas, complete knowledge. And that's how it is said to be a Vedic science or true science. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains in one of his classes, what are Vedas? And I'll just quote Srila Prabhupada's example for that. Srila Prabhupada says, look at our universe. This is just a one sample photograph. And his Prabhupada spoke, or Prabhupada said like this, that look, we are just, our planet Earth is so insignificant and tiny within our solar system. And when you zoom out, and when you take a picture of a universe, you'll find hundreds and thousands of millions of galaxies in the solar system and whatnot. We are so minute and so insignificant. And then Srila Prabhupada raised a question, there's such a tiny living entity like us. If you see the size of planet Earth, and within planet Earth, there is India, within India, there is a Pune, within Pune, you are at your respective small cities, and we are such a tiny being in this whole creation. Then if such a tiny being tries to find out about the Supreme Lord, who exists outside the universe. You see the shell? This is the universe shell, and the Lord exists outside of it. So how can a tiny being learn about the Supreme Lord? It is just not possible. So Srila Prabhupada says there are two ways of acquiring knowledge. This is something I would like the kids to remember it wholeheartedly. And what are the two ways to acquiring knowledge? The first way is inductive. उसको इंग्लिश में inductive कहा जाता है, which means ascending. Ascending means, नीचे से ऊपर जाना, ascending, which means you and I, we try to find out, हम अपनी शक्ति से, क्षमता से किसी प्रॉब्लम का सवाल ढूंढने का प्रयत्न करें. We try to find out the answer to an issue on our own strength. That is what is called as inductive. And this is what is modern science. This is what the modern research, where we try to find out the solutions to the problems on our own. So that is one way of learning. The second way of acquiring knowledge is said to be deductive. Deductive means descending. Descending means where you hear from the sources, right authorities, about the things that you don't know. For example, did somebody tell you what a sun looks like, or did you find out on your own what sun looks like? Somebody had informed you, right? You were taught about it. We were told what sun is, what moon is. Similarly, if you look at your education, we are told about everything. And that is what is called as deductive knowledge, because if we try to find out on our own, it is just not possible. So deductive means to learn the truth from the bona fide teachers. And this is a classic picture where Srila Sukdev Goswami is speaking to Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And that is how Lord Shri Krishna says that is a way of acquiring knowledge, the best way of acquiring knowledge. And then Srila Prabhupada gives an example, a very beautiful example. So right now we saw two ways of acquiring knowledge. One is ascending and second is descending. And now Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example, and he says, imagine there is a tiny ant in your room. Don't get scared, huh? But imagine you have a small ant on your table right now. Don't jump off, okay? I'm just joking. But imagine that there is an ant. Now, if that ant, which is crawling on your table, wants to know about the world affairs, Prabhupada says, want to know about world affairs in the sense, let's say the ant, I'm just now paraphrasing Srila Prabhupada in the current context. Let's say if the ant wants to know, are the schools open in America or they're still closed because of COVID virus? Or if the ant wants to know what's happening in Delhi, or if the ant wants to know, who is the prime minister of so-and-so country, can the ant, is this question to all of you now, you have to answer in yes or no. Can this tiny ant, on her own, can she ever find out? If she decides to do a research, she decides to make her own endeavors to find out, even just to find out if the schools are open in America or not right now because of COVID virus. Is it possible for her? Yes or no? Okay. I'm glad you all agree it's not possible. So ant can never know the truth through its own effort. That is, via ascending process, the ant can never know. But can ant get the answer? Yes, ant can get the answer, but that's not the question. So the ground reality is, ant is too small and has limited ability to learn on its own. Similarly, we humans, we living entities, cannot find out about Lord through our research or efforts. The modern science says that we'll send a spaceship in the sky, and if the God exists, then we'll find out his planet. And other fools says, no worries, we'll make a huge telescope with which we can see far out in the universe. And if God exists, then we'll find out and we'll find it through the telescope. But we cannot, because we are just like a tiny ant. So how do we learn about the gods? We have to learn about God not through ascending, through descending process. You see this photo? All of you can recognize who is in the photo. This is Arjuna and Krishna. Just like Arjuna humbly requested Lord Shri Krishna to enlighten him. And he says, Shishyasthiham sadimam tvam prapannam. My dear Lord, I surrender unto you. Please enlighten me. And that is how we can learn, by approaching the right authority. And we can learn about the subject matter of the Supreme Lord, because he is beyond this universe and it is beyond our capacity to find out. So question comes, who is that authority that can tell us about the Supreme Lord, that can tell us about our relationship with the Supreme Lord, and that can tell us who we are? And that authority is none other than Vedas. This is what Vedas are all about. Vedas tells us who we are, what is the purpose of our life, who is the Supreme Personality God, where does he live, who are his friends, and what is our relationship. And every question that you may have is answered in Vedas. So people outside say that Vedas are written by a human being. So if you say to somebody that we can find out about the Supreme Lord in the Vedas, so somebody will challenge you, oh, Vedas, they were written by a human being. Is it so? Well, the origin of Vedas is described by Srila Vyasadeva, who himself wrote the Vedic knowledge in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Vyasadeva says, what I am writing, or what I have compiled, is the knowledge that I received from Narada Muni. And Narada Muni received that knowledge from Brahma. And Brahma, you can see here on the photo, received that knowledge from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the verse goes like, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavya Muhyanti Yatsa Surya Tejovari Vadam Yata Vinimaya Trati Sargo Masha. And so forth the verse goes. So it is said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead revealed or gave the knowledge to Brahma about him, about himself, who is he, and about this whole universe that is created by the Lord. And like that, this Vedic knowledge, through the process of parampara, through the process of bona fide teachers, has come up to all of us. Lord gave this knowledge to Brahma, Brahma gave to Srila Narada Muni, Narada Muni gave it to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva gave it to Sukadeva Goswami, Sukadeva Goswami gave it to Sutta and Parikshit Maharaj, and like that in Parampara system, we have all got it through Srila Prabhupada. So this is how Vyasadeva, a literary incarnation of God, he recorded all the Vedas 5,000 years ago, the same thing that he received from the Supreme Lord for the benefit of all the mankind. And now I'm going to show you something which will be very confusing for all of you. In fact, you all will be a little scary. Or you'll be a little scared looking at the next slide. Are you ready? It's a little terrifying. Sure? I hope you're not going to roll over your chair and fall down. It's a very, very big slide with too much information about Vedas. I just want to see, are you still there or you are off your chair? You're scared and you ran off to a different room. Okay, and what is that information about the Vedas? A one slide summary of the complete Vedic knowledge. Okay, it didn't come out nicely. Let it come in a little animation. And this vast is your Vedic knowledge. And you know what? Trust me, I'm going to give you explanation of each and everything and really bore you out with it. No, I'm not going to do that. This is too much for all of you to know right now. I just want to show you this picture. You can just watch this picture or this slide for 10 seconds and then we move ahead. This is how the vast is Vedic knowledge, which is primarily divided in two parts, Shruti and Smriti. That much only I will tell you, not more than that. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you all are smart kids. You have remembered everything written on the slide now. You have totally memorized how many Shrutis and how many Smritis we have. Pakka? Because I'm going to ask you this in a question paper now. In your final question paper, this question will come, draw the chart of Vedic knowledge. I'm just joking. So let's go ahead. So to give you in a very simple format. So Srila Vyasadeva, for the first time, he divided the Vedas into 4 parts. This is a summary. Just remember the summary, that's good enough. He divided the Vedas in 4 parts, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda. After doing that, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Puranas. You know, we have Padma Purana, Skanda Purana, like that there are many, many Puranas and Itihas. After compiling those, then Vyasadeva ji wrote Mahabharat. And it is the Mahabharat that contains of Bhagavad Gita. And after writing Mahabharat, Srila Vyasadeva wrote something called as Vedanta Sutra. So of course, I'm not going to go in details with all of you, but just giving a high level knowledge about it. And it is Vedanta Sutra where all the knowledge of Vedas is given in a very concise form. And after that, the last thing that Srila Vyasa wrote was the commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which is known by the name of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such was a great personality, Srila Vyasadeva. What a tremendous literary work. Such a huge writing in a one lifetime. And that's the reason Srila Vyasadeva, this is humanly impossible. That's the reason Vyasadeva is said to be a literary incarnation of the Lord, to be able to execute all this task in just one lifetime. So we'll come back to Mahabharata now, because that's what our subject matter is. And there's a very beautiful story about how Srila Vyasadeva compiled or wrote Mahabharata. So, before writing, Srila Vyasadeva had already composed the whole history of Mahabharata. And it was quite huge. So Srila Vyasadeva was wondering, who can help me write down this Mahabharata? It's so huge, it will take a lot of time. Then Brahmaji appeared to Vyasadeva and he said, you should approach Ganeshji. Ganeshji is a very good writer. He can write down everything without a mistake. And like that, Srila Vyasadeva approached Ganeshji and he requested, and Ganeshji agreed. He said, hey Vyasadeva ji, मैं आपकी बातों से, I agree to your proposal, but I have one condition. तो Vyasadeva ने कहा, क्या condition है तुम्हारी? And Ganeshji said, my condition is, once I start writing, you should not stop speaking until you have finished, narrating the whole Mahabharata. The Mahabharata has 1 lakh verses. If any one of you have been part of, a festival when we recite 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, that itself takes 3 to 4 hours for us to recite. 1 lakh verses means such a long time. Srila Vyasa thought, oh my goodness, what if I have to attend to the nature's call? If I need to go and take a water break, what will happen? Then Vyasa said, yes, Ganeshji, I agree to your condition, but however, I also have one condition. And now, Srila Vyasa, you know about cricket? In cricket, there is something called as googly, which is a difficult delivery to play on. So Srila Vyasa threw a googly at our Ganeshji, and he said, hey Ganeshji, so my condition to you is, you should not write down until you have understood what I have said. So whenever Vyasadeva ji needed a break, unko jab bhi kahin break lena tha, so Vyasadeva ji will compose a very tricky verse, difficult verse, and he will narrate that difficult verse, and Ganeshji will keep on thinking, what is the meaning of this verse? And in the meantime, Vyasadeva ji will take a break and come back, and like that, this beautiful narration of Mahabharata happened. And with that, as a little background to it, now we slowly and gradually will get into the story of Mahabharata. So Mahabharata, the story of this greater India, Bharat Bhumi, which is also known by the name of Bharat Varsha. So what is this from, how did this our land got the name of Bharat Varsha? What is the meaning of it? So in the history, we have had 3 great Bharats, or Bharats, you want to call it. Does anyone know who are those 3 historical figures by the name of Bharat? One, we recently talked about it. Bharat Maharaj, Jad Bharat, Bharat Maharaj. You have to speak more. There are 3 Bharat Maharaj. Which Bharat Maharaj are you talking about? Okay, does anyone know? Okay, so I see Nanda Krishna Prabhu is saying, Lord Ram's brother. Yes, that's what we talked about. And yes, the second is son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. And which is the 3rd Bharat? Jad Bharat. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so there have been 3 Bharat. So one is Lord Ram's younger brother, who we have recently studied in details in our Ramayana discussion. And second is son of Dushyanta, who was the ancestor of Kauravas. And Bharat, this son of Dushyanta, comes in the lineage of, Kauravas, in the words. And from him, the Kaurava dynasty came. And that's the reason, if you see in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna sometimes called Arjuna as Bharata Sabha, which means, oh, descendant of Bharat. So that's another Bharat. However, our land, this planet Earth, was given the name Bharat Varsha, not after the name of younger brother of Lord Ram, not after the son of Dushyanta, but after the son of Rishabdev. So Rishabdev, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he had 100 sons, and the topmost and the eldest son, his name was Bharat Maharaj, who was a great devotee of the Lord. And because of his great, wonderful activities and great feats, great contributions, that's the reason during his rule, this land was given the name of Bharat Varsha. And since then, this land had been recognized as Bharat Varsha until Britishers came. ब्रिटिशर्स या यूरोपियंस के आते ही इस भारत भूमि का, ये जो हमारा जो देश का नाम रहा भारतवर्ष या पूरी दुनिया का, that name was taken off and we were given this temporary and artificial name India. Now with India, nobody knows what is the meaning of India. But when you talk about Bharatvarsh, when you talk about Bharat, you immediately remember three Bharat. You immediately remember Lord Ram, you immediately remember the Kauravas ancestors, and we immediately remember the great son of Rishabdev, Bharat Maharaj, who was a pure devotee. And like that, Britishers stole our identity from this land of, from the land of what we call it India today. And now people don't have any clue about their history. So we'll come back to the case of Britishers in a short while. Now, so this is how we got the name of Bharatvarsha. What's the time we have? I'll quickly introduce you to the dynasty of which is the characters which are mentioned in Mahabharata briefly, and then we'll take a look. So again, it's going to be a little huge slide, so please watch it carefully. Okay, we go right now. Take a look. So it begins with, we talked about Bharat, the son of Dushyanta, who had many descendants. After that, there was a Kuru, and from that Kuru dynasty came. And then after that, we had Shantanu. And from Shantanu, the actual story begins in Mahabharata. So I can quickly give you the whole overview of this, what's happening. Shantanu had two wives. His first wife was Ganga, the celestial divine mother. And through Ganga, of course, I'm not going in all the details. As you know, with Ganga, he had 7 or 8 sons prior, no, 7 sons, I believe. And then 8th son was Bhishma or Devavrat. And from Satyavati, he had 2 sons, Vichitravirya and Chitrangada. And through Chitrangada died without having any progeny or without getting married, in fact. And Vichitravirya got married to Ambika and Ambalika. So I'm just telling you this lineage right now. I'm not going into the stories. As we begin actual Mahabharata story tomorrow onwards, then you'll get to know about all these characters. Or maybe I don't need to get into details. This is just a map which we'll be referring again and again with all of you. Okay, this is whole the characters which are mentioned, which are very prominent characters like this. So before we get into Mahabharata, we want to address one particular question. And the particular question is, if you go and ask your teacher, or if you ask anyone around, they will call Mahabharata to be mythology, which means they call it as a fictional story, which means the Mahabharata never happens. It's a story written by some people just to draw some lessons for all of us. And thus, this becomes a very, very important subject for all of us to know when and how the Vedas were given the tag of mythology. This was not until 200 years ago. The Vedas were referred as mythology in less than 200 years ago, and in less than 200 years. And now today, everyone believes the Vedic scriptures, either be Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and all the Vedic scriptures like Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharveda, they are nothing but fictional stories or mythologies. Some say, among these category of people, some say it was written by some jungle man or caveman. They refer to Vyasadeva as caveman, some forest dweller. And others says that it was written by none other than Europeans who migrated to India and got settled in North India. So it's a topic in itself. which I'll be spending time with you tomorrow to address this question why and how Vedas were given a name mythology, and what is the fact. Is are Vedas really a mythology or they are factual, and we'll give you evidences for it. And after this session, we'll begin up a discussion on the story of Mahabharata. So in one of the sessions, I will give you the whole storyline. In Mahabharata, the great text written by our Vyasadev, there are 18 chapters, 18 khandas. So Adi Parva like that, up to the Sargarohan Parva, the 18th Parva. So I will give you the summary of all the 18 Parvas, all the 18 chapters. So you get to know high level what this Mahabharata is, and then we'll get into the storyline of Mahabharata. Along with that, we'll also do analysis of important characters of Mahabharata, just like we did in Ramayana, talking about the lessons from Hanuman. Similarly, we'll do an analysis of important characters of Mahabharata, and one of the most important character is Lord Shri Krishna. So we'll discuss about the role of Lord Shri Krishna in all through the Mahabharata, how Krishna was present at different times to help the Pandavas when they were faced with great challenges. With that, as a little background and overview and an introduction today about Mahabharata, about its author, about the contribution of authors and what are Vedas and the two ways of acquiring knowledge. I will pause here today, and tomorrow when we begin, we'll take a first topic, are Vedas mythology? And if we are able to cover it tomorrow, then we'll get into the story of Mahabharata according to the 18 chapters of Mahabharata. So with that, I'll pause here. Thank you for all your kind attention. We'll meet tomorrow again at the same time. And in case if any one of you have not yet submitted your answer sheet, please do let us know. Maybe in a day or two, I'll be checking everything and I'll be reverting back to all of you.